Radio, Radio Wala. Radio, Radio Wala. Radio Wala.
Views expressed by hosts, guests and callers on this show and on other stations on Radio Wala are purely personal and not that of this radio station, its staff, management and owners of Radio Wala Private Limited, its subsidiaries, partners and affiliates. All calls can be used for public broadcast at another time by Radio Wala and its subsidiaries, its affiliates and partners. Now, on to the show.
Hi. Well, it feels like deja vu all over again. Have you been listening for a while? I guess not. Well, we'll get there. Some of you have been long-time listeners, and some of you have just come in for the first time. But I hope to hear from you, pretty much. Long-time listener, first-time caller happens all the time. So pick your moment. All right, we'll talk. Speaking of talk, what are we going to talk about? Oh, yeah. I got my first hate mail in a long time from somebody who doesn't even listen to my show, but said she was a good friend of someone who really liked me and that I wasn't being nice to that person. I don't know what to say, so I just blocked her from ever writing to me. So hopefully that friend will talk to me and I'll still be friends with that friend. But it was kind of cool though. I may post it as is, just so you see what I have to contend with. Anywho, so what we're going to do is invite you to pick your favorite passage in one of your favorite books or short stories or any other fiction stories, anything that you've read and that you really like something. A small passage, you don't have to read the whole book or a whole chapter. So we'll have some of you call in and do some readings for us. And of course, I'll do my best. We're talking about erotic reading here. Erotic literature. There's all kinds of erotica. What's the difference between erotica and porn? I mean, there's a lot of... It's a fine line, really. It's a fine line. We all have our perceived differences between porn and erotica, making it really subjective. There is no real broad definition, but there are a few acceptable ones. But after that, it's how you see things, how you perceive it to be. Now, first of all, would you know what the difference is, or is there a difference at all between erotica and porn? Now, let me tell you this. A stark difference between the two. A very basic, non-intellectual difference is that porn is usually created to stimulate the man, so he could masturbate. Porn is consumed more by men. The operative word here is more by men. I didn't say only men, okay? So, I know what you're thinking. Ladies, hey, I watch porn. Yeah, I know you do. But more by men. While erotica, erotic literature, poetry, erotic romance, is consumed more by women. And written more by women as well. Like I said, the non-intellectual difference between the two. Porn uses as its central theme the physical genitalia of the human body, leaving nothing to the imagination, thereby making it very, very basic, appealing to your basic instinct, with nothing surrounding that. But erotica, on the other hand, describes the mood around the act. The primary theme for erotica is the anticipation, is the build-up, is the love, caring, tenderness, romance, and then sex. Most often in that order. It creates pictures in your mind. It lets your imagination go wild. The only thing that porn triggers in your imagination is you being in that video or in that text or prose or audio that you're listening to. Other than that, nothing else triggers your imagination with porn. Erotica, on the other hand, well, yeah, it triggers all kinds of things in your imagination. I mean, erotica is also theme-based. Also is porn. But the similarities between the two are like that. Yeah, a train just went by. But what is your take on all of this? People are people. Love is love. Erotica, for all of us, is the same. The cast of characters are different. Situations are different. And your personal choices, they're as personally different as they can be. Now let's start with one passage. A poem that you thought was really erotic. Ladies, and what about you? You read a lot. I mean, come on, Mills and Boone. How many of you haven't been there yet? Mills and Boone has got it right. They've got everything in it. Erotica, of course. That's like the central core. So the crucial element which defines pornography is that it is preoccupied with and places emphasis on sex organs for the purpose of sexual stimulation. Now let's look at some definitions. More formally written down. In other words, it's used as a masturbation aid and the characters, actors, participants are merely sexual props. No plot, just sex. Now, on the other hand, erotica, it's a tricky one. Oh, and by the way, the root of the word came from the Greek word erotikos, which in turn has its origins in the word eros, erotos, meaning love. But love and erotica today, what it means, are completely different. However, love plays a little part of that imagination created in all the writings. Now, Ginny Weihart says erotica is a genre of literature that includes sexuality, sexually explicit details as a primary feature. Unlike pornography, erotica does not aim exclusively at sexual arousal. Now, erotic romance from the romance writers of America, their definition: two basic elements comprise every romance novel, a central love story and an emotionally satisfying and optimistic ending. So, in that journey somewhere, there are tender moments, either placed in the midst of danger, as a preamble to a tragedy, or perhaps succeeding a tragedy, which makes that intimacy all that more meaningful, passionate, anticipatory, making your imagination run wild. Erotica is not all about sex. I mean, if you're an erotic romantic and you read stuff from that genre, I assume you like vivid sexual storytelling, but you also want believable, well-developed characters and strong plots. It's not just about sex, but the story around it. I mean, come on, let's look at this book, 50 Shades of Grey. We've discussed it on this show before. And, well, I haven't read it. Frankly, I don't read much. I do the writing part. Selectively. One-on-one to individuals. You know where I'm going with that. But perhaps if you've read it, you could quickly jump to those sections that you really thought moved you. It moved you all over the place. Down south, up north, in the middle. My name's Anil, and you're Between the Sheets. It's easy for me to say, I always say it. And you're always shy, and I'm always saying you don't have to be shy. Nothing changes much, does it? But I'm an optimist. I know one day something will resonate with you, and then you'll say, I got a call, I have to say something. And the power of wanting to say something, and what's even more powerful is that someone is listening to you because they want to, not because they have to. That's the beauty of doing this show for me. I like it, it's out of choice I'm here, out of choice you're here. No one's forcing us. And when you're here because you want to, if your own free will, well, you're like a sponge. It all goes in and stays there. If you're just joining us, well, welcome. Welcome. I'm not sure how many of you are out there. I haven't had a count yet, but I know some of you are. So by raise of hands that I cannot see, I'd rather you raise those fingers and stick it on your phone pad, dial pads. Call me. Let me know you're here. Say hello. I'm not going to force you to talk about erotic stuff. Don't worry. They can just call and say hello, that I'm here. And you know the show, you can feel free to be free. Free of whatever you want to say. But of course, I have the last right of refusal. Because we'll maintain a little bit of decorum here. A little bit. Not too much. But just enough. Erotica, welcome Between the Sheets. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
Sumit.
Who?
Sumit.
Hey, Sumit, how are you, man? Can you hear me? Well, great. So what brings you here tonight?
Hello.
You are having trouble hearing me, aren't you?
Hello. Yes. Sumit Arora.
Yeah, Sumit, we got your name. How you doing?
I'm doing fine.
So what about erotica do you like?
Won't be talking about the topic, the Indian literature.
Well, Sumit, if you can hear me, I'm not sure we have a good connection, man. I know you're saying something, but I don't know exactly what you're saying because your voice is coming in really choppy. So maybe you should try calling me back. That would work out. So if you'd like to read something, if you got your hands on something that you really, really liked and you said, oh, that got me all wet, then you should have. Just call me. What do you find very erotic? What scene would you like to be reading about that turns you on? We've talked about being horny. We've talked about so many things that you got to remember tonight. All of that comes together because erotica brings all of those things alive and makes you horny. A kind of horny that doesn't need too much action. It's titillating. It gives you a feeling that you want it and yet not. Yes, I want to be there, but oh yeah. That sounds like a good plan. You read about him and her coming out from under a rubble of a building that just fell apart because of an earthquake around them. A couple, him and her, who just 10 minutes before all of this just fell apart around them, were arguing about something so silly. They came out alive. They knew that they could have been under those rocks, under that rubble, under that concrete, under that twisted ball of steel. And they could have never seen each other again or never seen anything in this beautiful world again. But no, they've seen it. They come out, look back at what they just lost. But that was just the physical. They looked at each other, a slight glance to each other's eyes. They knew for the first time what they always had. That drew them closer, with the realization that just what happened could have separated them forever. But now they're going to make the best of what they have. They came close, they lip-locked, like it was their first time, like it would never be their last. Well, I was just making all of this up as we go because I was just creating a scene, taking it from one after the other. So I was just trying to say erotica can be in a situation. You never know. You could be traveling in a train, that could be a theme, or you could be flying. You could be flying two strangers in two different seats in an airplane going transatlantic, 15 hours of flying, and suddenly each one notices the other. They're overcome with so much passion. They wait for the shades in the aircraft to close down, the in-flight service all packed up, everybody settling in to kill a few more hours of flying to get to their destination. But no, these two are just waiting on just that to happen. Getting together a mile high is just very exciting to them. The idea of looking down upon the world but looking into each other's eyes at the same time, where it's also forbidden, not too much room. They know they've got to get so close to feel each other. One of them was claustrophobic, and at the same time enjoyed the breath being sucked out of her by him who was ravaging her inside the 1x2 bathroom, 1 feet by 2 feet bathroom. The only way to get close was to get really close. So close that they had enough elbow room so they don't knock the walls and give people outside a chance to get their imaginations going as to what was happening inside. But the idea of others knowing what was going to happen, or what is happening inside, was even more exciting. Every now and then her elbows would touch and hit the door. Normally when someone would do that, you'd think it was noise, but the people outside knew what was going on inside. It wasn't just noise, it was what they wanted to create if they were given a chance. So what about you? Come on, pick your passages. Read for me. What did you think that was so erotic in the books that you read? Quickly, go dust off one and bring it here. Let's talk about that, huh? It's erotic time here, and we're just getting started. My name is Anil. I want to hear who you are. We're talking about erotica. We're talking about stuff that you find very erotic. If you don't read and you have no experience about reading erotic stuff, the literature there, well, it's all right. Coming up later in the show, I'll play the clips of the 2 readings that happened at the Bangalore Literature Festival with the two authors, one from Sri Lanka and the other from New Jersey, a Desi gal from New Jersey. Sheba, I believe her name is. They read passages from their own books that they wrote. Pretty explicit, I must say. But enough to get you all hot and bothered at this show tonight after you listened in, and be carefully listening into this. If you listen in, somebody around you is going to get lucky. Well, I can't even ask for a commission like a corrupt cop, a corrupt policeman. He solves your case and he expects us to pay him big bucks for he did you a service. Well, yeah, I'm going to get yours all wet and hard. And I need commission. How do you take commission from that? Well, the very thought of it is exciting. Imagine that while you two are getting it on and I come in there in a little while and say, excuse me, can I get a little piece of that because I earned it? I wonder which one of you will walk away and let me in. Between the sheets, welcome, hello.
Hello.
Hi, who's this?
Hi, this is Preeti here.
Oh, hi, Preeti, how are you?
I'm good.
Good, the phones are ringing off the hook now.
I know.
You got company, hello, who's this? Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Anil.
Who's this?
Himadri this side.
Hello, Himadri. Say hi to Preeti. Preeti Himadri.
Hi. Hi.
So, ladies, you made my dream come true. It happens often enough, but every time it happens, seems like the first time. I got two girls with me now, one on each side. Menage a trois, threesome, my kind of situation.
Every man who dreams.
I know, but do you write about these dreams? Do you read about these dreams?
You sure we do.
Preeti Himadri. One by one. Preeti, since you called, what's erotic to you?
What's erotic to me? I don't know. I think it's anything that just... I don't really have a definition. I didn't really come up with a definition. So I thought I'll read a few lines, which are one of my favorite books. So, a few lines I actually picked up. I mean, I was just scanning through a few.
Few lines barely give us the flavor of that. That's why I said a passage.
Yeah, but how can you say that? You haven't even heard my line.
Well, I'd like to hear it.
Yes, I mean, it's about this author. It's a New York bestseller.
Mm-hmm.
My friend recommended this to me. It's a sequel. The author's name is Monica Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a sequel of a book called Second Chance Boyfriend.
Second Chance Boyfriend.
Okay, it's about these two characters, Drew and Fable. And in this part of the book, they're supposed to be like intense love and lots of intensity between both of them. And now they're separated and she's moved on. Not really, but then she gets to meet him again. And though she's dating somebody, when they meet, like when they see each other, this passion this just takes over. They just have this one moment and in one of those lines, she says, "Did you read it?"
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, she says, he props his elbow on the table, absently scratches his temple with his index finger, and I remember exactly what that index finger did to me earlier. How he circled my nipples with that finger, how he slipped it between my legs, drenched it with my wetness, and then brought it up to his mouth, licking it, tasting me, his gaze never leaving mine. So, I think those lines, like, it actually struck my mind when I actually read your topic. I remembered her book and that particular thing, how she started. So I thought I'll read it.
Hey, Madhuri.
Yes?
Do you write erotica?
I do.
So I'll tell you what. Maybe you could humor me if you feel you can do this. Now, what Preeti left off at? Did you hear what she just read?
I couldn't because still, I mean, I always get the same problem of voice echo.
Ah, that's too bad. But you can hear me clearly, all right?
Yeah, I can hear you very clearly.
All right, let me rephrase those two lines and say this. Okay?
Okay.
So Preeti.
Yes.
So his elbow hit where?
His elbow hit on the table, absent
All right.
scratches.
So they were sitting around the table. Okay, him and her were sitting around the table, and his elbow hit the table while his index finger was scratching his temple. Of course, her gaze went to that finger, because she remembered that just too well. Some time back, a few hours just before this scene, those fingers were elsewhere. Elsewhere between her legs, where it went deep down into her wetness. It explored that wetness, exploded it from where it was to coming out as he drew his finger out. So did her wetness come right out, chasing after that finger, saying, "Hey, not just yet." But no, he was teasing me. He took that finger, licked it, tasting her, looking her in the eye, as if just saying something. Himadri, did you hear that?
I did hear this.
Can you take it from there? Can you finish this up?
I can, but it's like what I have for you is one of my short.
We'll get to that.
stories.
We'll get to that. Just relax. Chill.
Okay, I'm all the way smiling after hearing you. You know, you are really very erotic, and you are really, high. That everything can go high after your voice.
No, but can you
Ooh.
finish that story for me, Himadri?
I can. I mean, although I didn't hear it properly, although I'll take it from where I have heard it, like from those he licked those fingers.
Just one finger, the index.
Okay, the index finger. He licked it, and then he gave that finger to my lips, and I started tasting it too. I wanted to taste my own pleasure. And then he strawed those fingers, that index finger, from my lips, down and deeper to my breast, where I felt him. I felt the way he is teasing me. He is trying to write on my body new stories, new poems. That's right.
And what he was trying to write, what he was trying to write
his desires.
was showing up in the eyes that he was staring at me with. His eyes, like the monitors of his soul,
Yeah.
were a reflection of how I was feeling or what he wanted me to feel.
Mm-hmm. Maybe that was his language of the way of talking to her.
So, Himadri,
Yes.
you had something that you write, that you wanted to read from. Something you
yes,
published,
although
right?
Yes. It's one of the letters from my published weekly letter thing on my blog. This is called Last Pages of My Maroon Diary, where a lady writes a letter to Kabir. Kabir is her man, and she writes a letter to her. So this letter called Those 20 Minutes. It's kind of a morning love-making scene, which I'm going to read, although I have a bad throat and I'm not as good in reading, so kindly.
We're not trying to be good here. We're trying to be hot. Erotic.
All right. So
Okay, and a hoarse throat is the best thing that you can have to read erotic stuff.
Okay. So it's the story name is Those 20 Minutes, and it starts like this. Last night, around 3:40 a.m., I turned my face to Kabir, and he wrapped his arms around me. I was asleep. Still, I started kissing his chest and his neck. Kabir has a habit of sleeping bare chest, and I sleep bare legs. He was still and sleeping, and I started kissing him and kissing his chest. I could still feel the smell of his cologne
that he strayed after taking bath at night. We both had our eyes closed. Usually, I don't dominate him on the bed and love to be his slave, but I got high while kissing him.
And
we both... Pardon?
Sorry, you're not done yet.
No, I'm not done yet.
Oh, my bad. Apologies.
Okay. We both had our eyes closed. Usually, I don't dominate him on the bed and love to be his slave, but I got high while kissing him. He could feel my pace of kissing and the increasing hold of my palms on his chest. I started rubbing my thighs between his, and he wrapped his legs around my waist. His hands were on my butt. He was awake by now, but we both still had closed eyes. His breaths became heavy, and I could listen to his groan that made me wild. I pegged his lips. He slightly opened it and started sucking his lips passionately. I was unstoppable now. I got high, and I wanted to be wild. The most pleasurable intimacy we have with closed eyes, in half sleep, and open it after the orgasm. He let me dominate him tonight. I could feel it with his hands, not grabbing my flesh. I removed my gown. I was bare, and slightly moved my hands to unbutton his shorts. I got up and pulled his shorts. My man, naked, closed eyes. How could I resist? I kissed his legs and thighs, started kissing him on his chest. I wanted to explore his body in the dark room. I get high when he tongues my navel and goes down. I love to give him love bites on chest, but I wanted to be soft this time. Kissing his body and going down, I determined my kinky woman and to wake him up. I wanted my wolf, but I chose to be the vixen. I stroked him with extreme pleasure and it succeeded. In a couple of minutes, he held my head and tied my hair. He supported the pace and I kept on increasing. Deep, deeper, deepest. His moans encouraged me, and after a while, room was decorated by the voice of my choked throat. He was all covered with my saliva, as my face was. I wanted to ride him without losing a moment. I came over him and saddled my Arabian horse with a groan. He was deep in me. I could feel the hardness inside me. With gasps and moans, I was moving like high tides crave for his moon. In extreme pleasure, we both were marinated into each other. I cuffed his wrist tight as he supported my flesh to ride in comfort. I started groaning high as I saw him grabbing my love handles. He was enjoying the contraction, and my high strokes begged him to erupt. My long hair was entangled to his thighs and covered my back. I started gasping and nailed his chest with his name. His name was all I could say that faded within a few seconds. Breathing high, I was numb on his chest. He was still inside me. We didn't make effort to find the clothes. Spooning with bare body is awesomely sexy. Perks of being married is the availability. We make love to the souls. The numbness and serenity in each other's arm certify the purest form of meditation, called love. When the man and a woman completes the family, the togetherness and stay by the sides at the odds and the evens. This is my Kabir, and this is me.
Well, sounds perfect. Thanks for hanging in there. We'll come back to you. My name's Anil. The show is called Between the Sheets.